Alright, so welcome to Cooking Lessons with Sam. Today we're going to go over a pretty basic dish, my version of a breakfast burrito. So to start off, let's jump into the ingredients you're going to need. Now, first off, you're going to need some bacon. I'm going to use 3 slices. You need some large eggs, 2 preferably. You're going to need some cheese. I prefer this Mexican cheese blend. You can use whatever you want, but you want shredded cheese for the correct consistency and melting properties. Then you're going to need 1 medium small size potato. This size is perfect. As you can see, there's some eyes, but we're going to remove those in a second, so don't worry about that. And of course, for a burrito, we're going to need our large flour tortillas, as big as you can get. And finally, we're going to want some neutral cooking oil. You don't have to use avocado oil. I like it, but any neutral cooking oil that you have that can deal with fairly high heats, that works. You're going to need some sort of frying pan. I have this nice thin cast iron. And you're also going to want to have some paper towels ready nearby, because we're going to set those up as landing zones for our fried items to drain some of their grease. So, to get started, we're going to grab our 3 slices of bacon, and we're going to put them into the pan cold. We haven't turned the heat on yet, and it's okay if the bacon is overlapping the edges a little bit, as it is here. It's going to shrink up real fast when we turn the heat on. So now, we're going to turn the stove on, and put it on medium heat. And we're just going to keep an eye on this bacon as we get started on preparing our potato. So we're going to start by removing the eyes, which we can very easily do with our fingers. And once you've removed all the eyes, just go ahead and give the potato a quick rinse. So I couldn't get this part fully in frame with my current recording setup, but we'll work on it for next time. Anyway, we're just going to shred this potato with these medium-sized shredder holes on the cheese grater. And you can turn it occasionally if it's starting to get stuck. We're going to want to grate the whole potato down into these hash brown sized strands. And so, of course, we want to be checking on our bacon regularly, but it's not quite ready to flip yet. So I'm going to take this time to go grab a plate and to set up a paper towel landing zone for our bacon. So we're going to check on our bacon again, and it looks about ready to flip, so we're going to flip the slices. We want to constantly be keeping an eye on the color on both sides, crisping it without burning it. I like my bacon nice and crispy, so that's the way I'm cooking it in this recipe. So we're just going to keep cooking the bacon and flipping it occasionally, just keeping a close eye on it. It is important to remember that the line between perfect crispy bacon and burned bacon is a pretty fine line. So once you're getting up in that crispy range, you really got to keep a close eye. Keep a close eye on the bottom of the bacon. Make sure that nothing's getting blackened down there, and flip it fairly often towards the end. Once you see that real browning, some darker spots, that's when you want to take it off. You can move a piece up into the hotter part of the pan when you take out one of the done pieces. And so our bacon here is just about ready. So we're taking it out of the pan onto the landing zone, and as you can see, there's a lot of nice bacon fat sitting in this pan, and that is going to be perfect for us for cooking the potatoes. So once the bacon's out of the pan, we're going to grab the pan and swirl it around a bit, get the fat evenly coated, and of course we're going to use a pot holder so we don't burn our hand. And we're going to use the spatula to just push the potatoes right into that fat. And right away, we want to try and flatten the potatoes out as much as possible into sort of a flat, even sheet across the pan. So there's no part that's too thick that's going to get undercooked on the inside. So we're going to have to wait a little bit. Just keep an eye on it. Wait for it to crisp up a bit. And while our potatoes are cooking, we can go ahead and set up another paper towel landing zone for them to go on when they come out. And of course, there is the absolutely crucial step of salting and peppering the potatoes, because remember, if you don't season your food, it won't taste good. And so you want to lift up the potatoes from time to time, check the underside, see how brown it's getting, and make sure there's enough oil. And this pan is actually kind of dry. The bacon didn't let out quite as much fat as I would have hoped, so we're actually going to add a little bit of oil to the pan. And then we can lift up the potatoes and tilt the pan a bit to get that oil underneath the potatoes drop them right back down. And I'm just going to keep pressing down on my center and checking the underside occasionally, and just going to be on the lookout for the color that I'm looking for in the potatoes. I like my potatoes nice and brown, but you don't want to get them too brown because they'll get over crispy and they'll start to taste a little bad. And when you see the color you're looking for, it's time to flip. And now we're just going to keep doing what we did with the first side, picking it up occasionally, looking at the bottom, making sure there's enough oil, sufficient browning. Might be a good time to pour yourself a cup of coffee. And of course, don't forget to salt and pepper this side as well, because once again, you want your food to taste good. We're actually going to cut it using our spatula because one side is getting a little bit crispier than the other, and we want to take that out first so that everything is cooked perfectly. And so once the potatoes are all done and all out on the landing zone, we want to kill the heat on the pan. And we're going to grab some paper towels, and keeping in mind that cast iron pans are very hot and stay very hot even when you turn the heat off, we're going to carefully wipe some of the gunk and the excess oil out of the pan. And so now that we have our base ingredients prepared, we can start constructing the burrito. And we're going to start with our tortilla, and we're going to just briefly drop this into the pan without the heat on. It's still a hot pan, but we don't need to have the flame on underneath. And we're just going to keep that in for only about 20 seconds or so. In my case, this tortilla came out of the fridge, so it was a little stiff, and putting it in the pan like this and just letting it catch some heat is going to soften it up, which is going to be much better for rolling the burrito. So now with our tortilla out on a plate, we're going to start with the cheese. And now an important step in this is to drop the cheese on camera and look like a bit of an idiot. And then you want to put the cheese on your tortilla, not in the center like I did, but actually over to the side like I then corrected myself. Next, we're just going to grab our potatoes, and some of our potatoes, and put those on top of the cheese. A little bit more cheese now. And then we're going to put some of the bacon on top of this, 2 of the slices. We're going to follow that up with the rest of the potatoes, then the last slice of bacon, and of course we're going to finish off our base with 1 more layer of our shredded cheese. So now it's time to cook our final ingredient for the burrito, our eggs. I have 2 extra large eggs here, and this is probably going to be the most difficult step because it's going to go pretty quickly. So you're really going to have to be on the ball about it, getting things done in the proper time, and getting the eggs out of the pan before they cook too much. And if you mess it up the first time, the nice thing is you have that base ready, so if you're willing to use another 2 eggs, you can always just do the eggs again. And so we put some oil in the pan, and we're going to turn the stove back on, again, on medium heat. Now we're going to crack the egg on the countertop rather than using the edge of the pan, as that's going to reduce the chance of us getting eggshells in the mix. So you want to try and crack them and get them in as quickly as possible so they're both cooking for about the same time. Then we're going to, as quickly as possible, salt and pepper. And then we grab our spatula and we scramble. Break up those yolks and just scramble them all together. They're already starting to firm up, and again, we want these to be pretty soft, still glossy, and so we're already ready to take these out. The easiest way is just to carry it over and dump straight from the pan onto the base that we've already created on the tortilla. And while you're doing this, might be a good idea to reposition your camera so the viewer can see slightly better how we're positioning the eggs, and now you can see it better. And yeah, we just want to get the eggs, again, evenly distributed. And as a finishing touch, if you're me, at least, you may want to add another layer of cheese. And now we're ready to roll the burrito. So we're going to roll it over once like this, trying to get it in as tight as possible, and really bring the ends in as well, as tight as possible. But do this really carefully and slowly, because if you rip the burrito, if you rip the tortilla, that's gonna suck. And so now again, trying to sort of push everything inside and really hold the shape. You're just going to carefully keep rolling it up. And look at that. That looks pretty good, I think. So there's only one more step now. We're going to toss this guy seam down back into our pan, which the heat is not on, but again, it's still pretty hot. And we're just going to let it sit here on the seam for about 20 to 30 seconds. We're probably about ready now to take this off, and yeah, that is done. And as you can see on the finished burrito, that final step is really going to help it hold its shape a bit better and not fall apart while you're eating it. And you can just go ahead and eat your burrito now, but if you want to be a little gourmet, just grab a bread knife and carefully cut it down the middle. And then you can turn it around and do a beautiful little cross-section plating like this. And look at that burrito, ready to eat.